What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Sportskeeda MMA's daily news roundup for February 23rd. Khabib Nurmagomedov has been making headlines recently about his potential grappling match with UFC legend Georges St. Pierre. Khabib vs. GSP was one of those great what-if scenarios in the UFC. What if Khabib was able to dominate St. Pierre on the ground? Or what if GSP was able to take Khabib down? Luckily for fight fans, it seems the matchup is gaining some hype, and Khabib's head coach Javier Mendez fully supports his prestigious student. In an interview with Submission Radio, Mendez was asked about the matchup and had this to say. "That would be interesting. That would be fun to watch. He's grappling now. He kills everybody. The guy is still killing everybody. He's heavier though, but he's killing everybody. Khabib is gonna dominate him, just like he does everybody else. That's what I expect. I expect nothing less from him. I've never seen him not dominate anybody." Eagle FC will now have a golden opportunity to write the missing chapter we've all been dying to see, and perhaps even answer all our questions. Unfortunately, Khabib did comment on the rumors recently on an Instagram livestream and had this to say. "I don't see the point in it. You can, of course, add fuel to the fire, say something, but I don't want to. I don't want to promote this topic. Oh, I could return to Eagle FC. I don't want to make it. I don't want to make PR for League in another format. I don't think that I'll return. Wrestle with someone, let others wrestle. Who needs it? Do I need it? In this life, we are not allowed to do everything we want. Your desire may not coincide with what you will do. You can just want it and that's it. Does it make sense now to talk about my hunger? I do not see the point." Do you think Khabib's thoughts on the matchup with Georges St. Pierre are valid? If Khabib does change his mind, who wins in a grappling-only matchup between the two GOATs? In the same interview with Submission Radio, Javier Mendez had some gripes about Conor McGregor potentially getting a title shot over his rising star student Islam Makhachev. With Makhachev now fighting Bobby Green instead of Beneil Dariush, MMA fans are wondering if Islam still deserves a title shot with a victory, given the fact that Green is unranked. When asked about his reaction to Conor McGregor returning to the UFC right into a title fight, Mendez had this to say. "That's part of the game, you know? He carries the big numbers, so whatever the UFC decides. I'm expecting anything can happen with that guy that has the power to do that. Do I like it? Absolutely not. But do I have a choice? Absolutely not." Mendez then blasted the validity of the UFC rankings. "To me, the rankings are bullshit. They've always been bullshit. They're still bullshit. So I don't really care about the rankings." This wouldn't be the first time Conor McGregor steals the limelight of one of Javier's students. In 2016, Khabib was already slated to fight Eddie Alvarez at UFC 205 for the lightweight title, but ultimately lost the fight to Conor McGregor for marketing reasons. Khabib would instead fight Michael Johnson and never complained about the situation. Do you think Dana White would actually consider giving McGregor a title shot, even though he can't beat Dustin Poirier to save his life? Bryce Mitchell recently got fired up about a couple of hot-button issues. On the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, Thug Nasty started a conversation around the recent Canadian trucker protests against their government's strict COVID policies. Vaccine mandates have been a strong point of contention of these protests, and Mitchell wanted Helwani's take on the matter. The conversation began as a friendly back and forth on the pros and cons of weapons rights. Naturally, the topic of mass shootings came up when Helwani compared the casualties of these tragedies to those in Canada and Europe, and Mitchell had this to say. "My number one explanation is that the government is in a lot of these. They have an agenda. They set up mass shootings and then blame the AR-15s and say, oh, now we're coming to take away your AR-15s. Let me tell you why they have not taken away the AR-15s. Because this is God's land, and they cannot. They do not have the power to take away these AR-15s. The people are too strong. I will die before I hand these guns over to my government." Helwani also asked Mitchell about why he was concerned about the protest, and Mitchell had this to say. "Because I see these people that are against these vaccine mandates, and they can't go to their gyms, they can't go to their churches, they can't go to their restaurants, and you have a dictator over there telling people that they have to inject poison into their body." Do you think Bryce Mitchell has a point about government overreach? How do you feel about fighters using a platform like MMA to voice their opinions about socio-political issues? Jorge Masvidal just can't keep himself from speaking on fighters who have nothing to do with his upcoming fight with bitter rival Colby Covington. And this time, his subject of speculation is Conor McGregor. To be completely fair to Masvidal, he's not necessarily doing the wrong thing. People are asking him questions, and he's answering them the only way he knows how. This time, Masvidal was recently asked in a Rumble Q&A about how a potential fight between him and Conor McGregor would go down, and he had this to say. "A lot of people say that they would kick and you can find them in the graveyard. I don't know what you want me to tell you, but you know what I would do to that midget." He was then asked if he would accept a fight with McGregor and replied with, "Of course. Will he fight me is the question." There's probably no fan in the world who wouldn't want to match up with Masvidal and McGregor, but of course the harsh truth is, he is in no position to play matchmaker until he's made a statement against Colby Covington at UFC 272. Do you think Jorge Masvidal could definitively end McGregor's MMA career, given the Irishman's recent trajectory? And last but not least, Mike Perry recently claimed that his pockets feel a little bit fatter in bare knuckle fighting championship than they did in UFC. Perry was released from the UFC in 2021 following disappointing losses in 4 of his last 5 MMA fights. Perry would later have a stint in Triad Combat and then transition to BKFC, where he just recently won his debut against Julian Lane by unanimous decision. In a recent interview on the MMA Hour, Perry was asked about his compensation and had this to say: "I'm making double, or more than double because now they took some pressure off. I need to think about it that way sometimes as if there was a win purse. Triller gave me a good win bonus. I had something to fight for extra, but not having to think about the other side of it, I really just feel like I got to be me." With ongoing discussions about fighter pay, it's no secret that these up-and-coming promotions are enticing UFC veterans by offering them more than what the UFC is willing to pay, and maybe this could lead into a couple of big changes in pay structuring soon. That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA's daily recap of the most exciting news from the MMA world. Here is one final question for you fight fans. Are these stories of ex-UFC fighters getting paid more in other promotions detrimental to the UFC? Don't forget to follow Sportskeeda MMA on all our social media platforms. I'm Alex, and as always, thanks for tuning in.